Hello everybody and welcome back for some weekly VR news. As always, I am Mateo311 and this is your channel for everything VR related. Besides the typical new releases and announcements that I go over every single week, I really need to dive deeper into a few topics that have me very hopeful for the future of VR. This includes updates and clarification on some of my statements from GDC, like just how I know the Valve Deckard is real, what exactly happened to the Meta Store that upset so many VR developers, and just how all of that may be resolved in the near future. Now there are of course links and timestamps if you want to skip ahead, but let's start things off like normal with the check-in. Okay, so I've just made it back from GDC and I have to say it was an absolutely amazing time, but like normal, my voice is sort of out again, which you can probably hear. It was worth it though, because I now have so much more insight into just how the industry operates, so many new contacts, and it's just great getting to know these people, seeing their struggles, but most importantly, the passion. The passion in the VR industry is absolutely incredible, but I'll get back to that later. For now, I just want to say this week I'm going to be covering Wanderer Fragments of Fate. I don't think I'll have a full review. I don't have enough time to get through that entire game and give it the justice it deserves, but I will definitely be showcasing it. Besides that, I don't know what's going on. So let's just get into the new releases for this week and some cool announcements. Before that though, make sure to hit like and subscribe. We're getting really close to that 100k number and it has me very excited. But speaking of very excited, the 4th attempt at a solid Hitman VR game is coming this week. Hitman VR World of Assassination is dropping on the PlayStation VR2, and interestingly enough, it is not a separate title, but rather a $10 upgrade from the original game. So if you already own this game and want to experience it in VR, you'll get to jump in for a very low price tag. Anyone else though will have to buy the flat screen version of the game and then the $10 upgrade. Luckily though, there's multiple different ways to purchase this title and you'll most likely be able to find a deal. Additionally, don't expect to see day one reviews, as there are no early access keys going out. Now normally this is a red flag, but it actually has more to do with the fact that this is an upgrade and not a full release. While I definitely can't vouch for the game, internally I am hearing good news, so my fingers are crossed. But another PlayStation VR release coming this week that I'm even more excited about is Underdogs VR. This mech controlling, physics-based, roguelite mech fighting title absolutely blew me away when it released back for PC VR and the Meta Quest. It's absolutely dripping with style. There's a ton of replayability between all of the different weapons and upgrades that you can place on your mech. And they've recently released a sandbox mode that will be available day one on the PlayStation VR 2. So an already great game is about to get a release that'll have better haptics and look a lot better for most players. PSVR 2 owners, definitely don't sleep on this title. It's absolutely fantastic. Now another game that's seeing a port that I truly enjoyed is The Living Remain. This is a story-driven zombie shooter with excellent pacing, and I was surprisingly impressed when I played it back on PC VR. Well, it's about to release for Questers, so if you're looking for a new zombie shooter campaign, this is a very easy recommendation, and I'm fairly confident they'll do a great job porting it. And we also have another port/remake for Wanderer Fragments of Fate. Yes, it is actually releasing this week. Now, I've already spoken about this game a million times before. It's a time-traveling, story-driven puzzle title with an extremely high budget value, especially for a VR game. The remake is coming to all platforms, upgrades the graphics, and gives us brand new content. I'm absolutely pumped to jump back in, and let's hope all of the different delays this game experienced have paid off. And finally, the last new game dropping this week is Train Sim World New York for the Meta Quest. Now, for those of you familiar with the channel, you know it's not exactly my style, but I know there's a group of people who absolutely fall in love with these types of games, and I'm hoping Train Sim World will scratch that same itch for people on the Meta Quest. Now, we also recently got some brand new game announcements, and the first is Jungle Man, a mixed reality experience from Fun Train, the studio that previously gave us The Exorcist, The Twilight Zone, and Tarzan VR. Now, mixed reality experiences tend to be quite small in scope, but I will say this does look pretty cool, and it looks like it takes some inspiration from the minigame Cut the Rope, so this could be quite fun. And last up in new game announcements, Group VR is getting a sequel. If you never played the original, it was a true sleeper hit. This is a space battle real-time strategy game that not only featured a single-player campaign and multiplayer battles, but you also got to maintain, manage, and fully upgrade a fleet of multiple different ships. Your captains could also level up and gain special abilities. The game allowed you to use your voice to issue commands. And on top of all that, it had some excellent graphics. So even if the sequel just gives us more of the same, I'd still be impressed with this one. And on that note, let's move into why I am hopeful for the future of VR. And let me clarify some of my statements from my previous GDC video, where I talk about the Deckard and some of the general frustration that developers are expressing about meta. Okay, so let's start off with why I'm hopeful for the future of VR. First off, I just saw so much passion this week. Like, the developers out there really love VR. They're not here to make money. They're not here to become rich or famous or anything. They love VR. They want to make good VR products. That is like the end all be all for me. But passion is not going to get you everywhere. We are, however, seeing a nice little resurgence in PC VR. No, it's not going to blow up. No, it's not going to be mainstream overnight. But things like the Big Screen Beyond 2 was just announced, and it is massively outselling the original, showing that, yes, people do still want PC VR. And even after years of people saying it's dead, no, it kind of just like teetered along at the same level, and now it's like slightly bumping up. But things like the Deckard won't have this insane change to PC VR, but it could also help with that resurgence. And one developer expressed something really nice to me. They said, listen, if you want to make high-end VR games, the numbers are there if you go PlayStation VR2 and PC VR. If you focus on those and you make your initial money and you port it to Quest, you can do that. It's possible. However, there's just so many nuances between where you get your money from, how you target your audience. It's a tricky avenue to navigate. And that's another thing that was expressed to me throughout this entire experience. But I'm sure what you guys find much more interesting, or at least want to hear more about, is the Valve Deckard. I know some people were upset because in my last video, I said the Deckard is confirmed. And the feedback that was negative probably came from people who are not familiar with this channel. They see something like that, they want Deckard information, they're new, they don't know me, they don't know the type of videos I do, and they're just like, nothing's confirmed here, this is all hearsay, this is more leaks, more rumors, whatever. What my goal of that video was to give some more hope to the community. We've been hoping for the Deckard for God knows how long now. And what I wanted to walk away was, the Deckard is no longer a question of if. It is a question of when. I am wholeheartedly convinced of that. Nothing can change my mind based on the experiences I had over at GDC. Now, people will say, well, tell us the experiences. I cannot. I have way too much respect for everyone in the industry. And at the same time, Valve is preparing to announce this title. They're probably spending millions on everything they're putting together, the footage, the announcements, everything. They have a rollout, they have a plan. So even if I had pictures of the device, or I wore the device, I used the device, I tried it out, I know what demos are coming, even if, and I'm not saying I did because I didn't, well, even if I had that, I would not show it to you guys because I have too much respect for Valve and the developers and everyone who's nice enough to communicate with me. I want Valve to do it their way. I would hate to ruin it for them. But I'm going to throw out some hypotheticals just so you guys can get a very brief understanding of how I can know what I know. None of these are true, but let's just say you spend an entire week with really excited developers and maybe one has a few too many drinks and has a phone call that's quite loud. And you hear them say to someone they work with, like, hey, how's it going with the Deckard? That didn't happen, but that's something that could have. And then once you hear it from one person, you could turn to another developer and be like, hey, you get your Deckard yet? And they might accidentally answer you. I'm just saying how these things can happen. I could have sat next to someone and read their email. It didn't happen, but could have. Maybe someone at Valve could have even said something. Didn't happen, but it could have. I'm just saying I was there. I have enough information to be 100% confident with enough multiple sources to say, yeah, it's real. It's real. It's a matter of when, not if. Now, when it comes to things that Upload VR just talked about, they showed off some potential data mine specs. That would be full speculation. That could have been a prototype model. That I cannot comment on. And even if I knew for sure, I wouldn't comment on. And whenever something is a leak or speculation, I will tell you guys. But whenever I'm confident about something, I'll also say that too. I hope that clarifies. It was very long-winded there. But let's get into the other meta story. Now, in my previous video, I had a couple comments saying, why are you being such a jerk about meta recently? The industry wouldn't be here without meta. No one spent more money. And you're 100,000, 10 million% correct on that one. I would never deny that. Meta had to pivot VR to make it more mainstream, to get more people in the industry so that there's more money available. I get it. However, what's going on internally now, and I'll give you a bunch of great examples, is they just change their priorities, like randomly. Now they just mentioned how there's a $50 million budget for Horizon Worlds. And this is a much deeper story, but they just moved money from, VR development to Horizon Worlds development. And just imagine if you're someone who's been working in the VR gaming industry for years now, and you depend on at least some level of investment or some contribution or some help from Meta, and it's kind of not there anymore. Just disappears overnight. At the same time, what is really frustrating the developers more than anything, which has cost them money, is discoverability. Not only was the search function broken on the Quest Store for quite some time, I'd produce a video on a game, people would be like, this game looks awesome, I can't find it on the store. And I'd be like, what's going on? And I'd look, and yeah, sure enough, you type the name of the game, you can't find it. That is unacceptable. That has ruined the career of a developer. Even worse, there's been a mandate that basically says, hey, make Horizon Worlds good. Make it good. But some of that, is it good or not, is metrics driven. And what happened in someone's, I guess, infinite wisdom was, yeah, let's just stuff Horizon Worlds in someone's face. So when you turn on your headset, instead of seeing the brand new VR games that people worked 2 years on, you have this whole bar of all these Horizon Worlds, all this like community made junk, or I'm not saying it's all junk. There's some cool stuff out there. Horizon Worlds is getting better, but you get all this community made junk and everyone's attention is drawn there and it's working. Like people click those, they join them, and then internally they go, hey, we're doing it. Numbers are up. People are joining new worlds, blah, blah, blah. Not really. That's not really, it's not real. And I'll give you a couple examples of that. If overnight YouTube said, I'm going to send Mateo's video out to everyone in the world, all whatever billion members we have, my numbers would shoot up. Is my content instantly better? No. Would that be sustained? No. Did, Mateo 311 become the best channel ever? No. So it's artificial. And an even like dopier example would be like, say there's a all you can eat buffet somewhere, and the people who work there decide, hey, we want to sell more hamburgers and hot dogs. So when you walk into this buffet, you've never been there before, there's just table after table right in front of hamburgers and hot dogs and french fries, whatever the stuff they want to get rid of. But somewhere in a back room that you don't know about is steak, caviar, lobster. Yeah, well, everyone's just going to fill themselves up on the hamburger hot dog stand in the front and maybe never even realize the other stuff is back there. So as you can imagine, people are frustrated. Developers are frustrated. It just costs them money. Long rant, but this is what I experienced for a full week. There is a silver lining though. Like I said, I can't go into too much detail, but some people spoke about this openly. I don't know if they were supposed to speak about it openly. Some people spoke about it and said like, listen, this is inside information. I don't know if you could share this, but it looks like there should be some restructuring coming. There should be more importance placed on the VR games that people worked years on. The storefront should change. The appearance should change. There should be at least equal opportunity. Games shouldn't be hidden behind something that you have to click. I hope it's curated so they give people, what they want, what they're looking for. And that's pretty much all I can say about that. But there were signs of great hope for both PC VR and the Meta Quest. PlayStation VR, I know I've kicked it when it was down, and I've made a bunch of negative comments about it because I wanted it for first party exclusive, like awesome titles, AAA VR, and they just can't afford that, and it's not going to happen. And, you know, Sony just has to put their priorities somewhere else. I'm not saying it's a bad headset. I'm not saying the games suck, because actually a lot of the games that are coming out on PlayStation VR 2 are awesome. And it got even more third-party support than I expected. So all across the board, VR has a lot of potential for the future. We might just be in a little bit of a rough patch for the next 6 months or so. And hopefully that turns around by the end of the year with the Deckard and other stuff. That was the video, guys. If you enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up. If you're happy I gave a deeper explanation, let me know. Your feedback is really important to me, negative or positive. I'm not here to clickbait you guys. I'm not here to, you know, just get tons of numbers. I'm here because I personally love VR. In fact, I'm working on a big project. It's too early to say anything, but when I can, we're going to talk about it. And it goes beyond just YouTube. All right, guys, that was today's video. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. New here, please hit it. Please consider subscribing. I'm going to stumble over my words because my throat is killing me. And I'll see you guys on next time.